Hello! Today we are doing a really fun yoga sequence that's all about finding our balance. This sequence just kind of plays with strengthening that core and our thighs and just being able to play with our bodies a little bit more than we do on a normal basis. And I love playing with balance because I think it's really fun, and throughout this flow, if you fall over, if you have to get out of the pose and then gently come back in, I want that to happen. I want you to feel safe doing that because we're playing here. We're learning what our bodies can do. We're challenging ourselves. And honestly, if you don't fall over, you're just a robot. I don't know. How are you human? Hello? But anyway, I hope you enjoy this flow as much as I do. And without further ado, we will get started. So we're going to place our hands onto our mat and I will meet you in tabletop. So with tabletop, we want our wrists underneath our shoulders. We want our fingers spread and kind of gripping the ground. Knees are underneath our hips, and then our toes are flat on the ground. From here, we're going to inhale, dropping our belly, pushing our chest forward, tailbone goes up, and then exhale, tailbone drops, chin tucks, belly in for cat. Inhale, tailbone goes up, chest forward, chin up. Exhale, tailbone drops, chin down, belly in. Inhale, tailbone up, chest forward. And exhale, tailbone down, chin tucked, belly in. Let's do one more. Inhale. And then exhale. From here, we'll go back into that neutral position, and then here's where we start to play with balance. So we're going to take our right arm and put it out in front of us, and then taking our left leg and placing it back behind us. And if this is as good as you want to be today, if your body's already shaking and kind of going all over the place, that's totally fine. But if you are ready, then you can lift your leg up, making sure you point that toe so that we're engaging that back leg. I kind of like to think of pushing through my heels and then pushing through my fingertips. Now with this, we don't want to be over more on one side or the other. We want to stay as neutral as possible in this pose. And if it helps, you can kind of put this back foot into the mat to help with balance. And then slowly release back into tabletop. Ooh, shake it out if you need to. Good job. And then we will, of course, do that on the other side. So, engaging the abs, reaching our right fingers forward, reaching our left fingers forward, our right toes back. And again, if this is where you want to be, this is where you want to be. Just make sure the right hip is square. It's not really dipping down. It's kind of tucked. You're engaging with that leg still through the heel. But if you're ready for more, place your left foot into the mat and lift your back leg up, pushing through that heel, still kind of driving forward with those fingers, engaging the abs, and trying your best to keep your shoulders parallel to the floor as well as your hips. You want it to be in line with each other. My body's already starting to shake. And on your next inhale, and then exhale, bring it back down to tabletop. Woo! We're gonna shake it out. Alright, from here, our arms go forward in front of us, fingertips clawing into the mat, tucking our toes, and then pushing into downward facing dog. Now, if you're like me and this is the first downward dog of the day, I want you, instead of trying to get your heels to the ground, I want you to bend your knees and kind of push your chest towards your thighs. That's going to be better for you in the long run, and it's probably going to feel a little better. And with every downward dog, I personally really like to pedal out my feet, especially if it's the first down dog of the day. Now, once you're ready, inhale your right foot up and back, and then exhale, bring it through into your chest and in between your two front hands. If that is not available for you yet, if you're like, hey, I don't know how to get there like that, so you can, instead of going up and through, I still want you to try to tuck that knee into your chest, kind of driving it forward, but then place both knees on the ground and then get that knee up there. We want to safely get here. And then once we are here, want to push into the mat, lifting that back left knee off the ground. Engage those abs. Inhale, arms up for a low lunge. We want to make sure our knee does not go in front of our toes, but we do kind of want to sink down as far as we can into this pose. Kind of think about a line going through from your head to your shoulders to your pelvis to the floor. That's kind of the alignment that we're looking for. Just take a few breaths here. And on your next exhale, drop your fingertips back towards the ground. Lift that back right leg into downward facing dog again. Pedal it out. Take a few deep breaths here. And when you're ready, inhale that left leg up behind you. Exhale, draw it into the tummy, into the chest, and bring it forward in between your legs. I don't know about you, but one side is always easier than the other. That's perfectly fine. Totally normal. Engaging your abs on an inhale. Bring those fingertips to the sky. If you need to readjust so that your hips are square towards the wall in front of you, that's completely fine. But once you get there, raise your arms up and sink back into the pose. We want to draw our energy down towards our heel and the front leg here. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale, expansion. Exhale, soften. On your next exhale, drop those hands back to the mat. Lift that leg up and back into downward facing dog. When you're ready, walk those feet up towards the front of the mat into forward fold. I like to have a micro bend in a forward fold just so I don't overextend my legs, and honestly, for me, just feels better. But you do whatever feels comfortable for you. Just rocking side to side, giving that spine a little bit of a stretch. Speaking of the spine, we're going to give it a little bit of love here. On your next inhale, rise up, halfway lift. And then exhale back down to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. exhale, forward fold. Then inhale, rise all the way up very slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, until you reach the top, rounding your shoulders at the top, giving them a little bit of a massage. And then we're going to stand in mountain pose, just taking in all that we just did real fast. Standing nice and tall, very strong, grounding into the feet. Hands are open to your sides. Just taking a breath here, keeping those shoulders away from the ears. And when you're ready, we're going to get settled for chair pose. So I'm going to face you here real fast. We're going to put our toes together. Our heels are just a fingerprint's width apart from each other. And we want to engage our abs here. We want to protect that lower spine, low back. And then when you feel comfortable, we're just going to gently push. It's like someone's taking their thumbs and pushing your hips back and down into a little squat. If your toes rise here, that's actually good. We want to put as much awareness as we can into the four corners of our feet. We want our weight to be distributed into those four corners. So we're just going to stay here for just a little bit, stacking it up until we reach full chair pose. On an exhale, rise back up. Inhale, raise your arms up to the sky, look up to the sky, wiggle your fingers. And then exhale, back down to mountain pose. Now I think we're ready for chair pose. So when you're ready, big toes are together, heels are just a little bit far apart, engaging our abs. And as we feel like someone's pushing their thumbs back into a squat, we're going to rise our hands up to the sky. Shoulders are down and back, away from the ears. We're just going to hold this. Fingertips about 45-degree angle. Or if you can, get them closer to your ear. That's awesome. More power to you. I do not yet have that mobility in my shoulders. But that is okay. That's why we do this. That's why we practice. Just giving that balance, giving those abs some work, some fire. Just hold it for a few more seconds. If you need to, wiggle those fingers. Sometimes that helps me with the burn. And inhale, or exhale, wherever you were. Back up to standing. Alright, from here we're going to take it even a step further and go into eagle pose. Now for this, we're set up just as a chair. So big toes are in, heels are away from each other, just about a thumbprint away. We're going to engage our abs, bend our knees, pulling back those hips, taking that right leg and crossing it over so that the toes touch to the other side of the mat, putting your arms 90 degrees in front of you, crossing your right underneath your left. If this is not available for you, this cross position is just fine. But right over left. And if this is as much as you want to do today, this is your body's like, whoa, all right, this is it, we're good here. That's totally fine. But if you are able, you can continue curling those arms around each other, placing palm onto fingertips, right fingertips onto left palm, and then taking that right foot, curling your toes around that left leg and trying to balance here. But what we do not want is to do this and compromise our shoulders or our hips. We want our hips and our shoulders to stay parallel to the ground. So if this is all you can do today without compromising any of this and falling over, that's perfectly fine. But if you can go a little deeper, that's fine too. We're here to play and to explore. So we can be here, and then if you want to take it to the full variation, putting those elbows to that knee, dropping down. Taking a breath here, fully in and fully out. On your next inhale, we're slowly going to get out of this pose very, very, very slowly. Give yourself a stretch if you need it. Bringing our arms back down, legs back in. If you want, shake it out. That was a good pose. Now we're ready for the other side. So we're going to do the same thing. Toes together, heels a little bit out. We're going to bend into those knees. Hips go back just a little bit, not as much as in chair pose, but still gaining to that squat position. And then when you're ready, left leg goes over the right and touches that mat with the toes. And then your arms go up 90 degrees, and then this time your left is underneath your right. And again, if you can't go under, that's totally fine to stay here in this X position. Just whatever you can do, challenge yourself just a little bit. But we want a conversation with our bodies, not an argument. We want to be like, ooh, let's challenge us here. We don't want to be like, ooh, that hurts. So wherever you're comfortable with today, that's where I want you. But if you can, challenge yourself to go just a little bit deeper than wherever you are. And one side is going to be easier than the other. That's just how our little bodies work. It's totally normal. With whatever variation you're at, take a few breaths here. Full belly breath in and full breath out. On your next inhale, we'll rise up very slowly out of this pose. Giving yourself a little stretch if you want to. I always feel like it feels very nice after a pose like that. Pedaling out the legs. Standing your feet hip width distance apart. Rise up your fingertips to the sky. And then take your shoulder blades down and back. Arms at 90-degree angle for a cactus pose. Just rounding that back. And if you want to, you can go back a little bit, rising your chest and your chin up to the sky. And on an inhale, bring that back down to mountain. From here, we're going to inhale our arms up, and then exhale, swan dive forward, hands onto the mat, fingertips on the mat. Step your right foot back, and then your left to downward dog. We're just going to be here for a second, just getting those kinks, giving our back a little bit of a stretch. And then when you're ready, bring your chest forward into plank pose. And in yoga, our plank poses, we want our booty to be a little bit up. We don't really want the workout plank poses, so not like this. We want them a little bit up so that our spine stays nice and straight. But when you're ready, you can either, if you have the ab strength, do a chaturanga, or if you're like me and you're not there yet, place your knees onto the ground, hug those elbows in, and then drop your chest lightly to the ground, placing the tops of your feet onto the mat, engaging your pelvic bone into the floor, arms next to your or underneath your shoulders, rise up for cobra. Exhale, let it back down slowly. Push into the palms, sending the hips back into extended child's pose. We're just going to stay here a little bit, just breathing deep, taking in all of that work that you just did, all of that play you were able to tap into. Alright, when you're ready, walk those arms back towards your knees. Get yourself into a nice, comfy sitting position. Inhale, hands rise up towards the sky, palms together. Exhale, heart center. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you are breathing as hard as I am. Definitely sweaty, definitely a little warm, but for sure proud of myself, and I'm proud of you for doing this practice and just kind of letting yourself go. And if you got frustrated, that's fine too. Just let that out and keep trying, and you got this. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Namaste.